Welcome to the Woodworkers video on timber window hoods and privacy screens. Timber window hoods have been around since the late 19th century, and although they're not a feature on modern homes, they are still widely used on period homes when renovating. So today what we'll look at is how to install a window hood and a privacy screen that goes in front of it. There are a number of different styles of window hoods, and you can see many of these on our FAQ 11. But today we're going to fit a WH1 window hood, and we're going to have a look at what you get when you buy a kit. You can buy the kit with either just the timber items, or you can buy the full kit with the timber and the metal. First of all, you have two window hood ends. You have two purlins, which are over length, and you cut them to size as you're working on the job. You have two gable rolls. You have the metal sheeting, and you have the flashing, which again is oversized, and you cut that to length on the job. You also get all the screws and fixings that you need to fix the window hood. Before installing the window hood, it's a good idea to do all the painting on the ground. It's a lot easier to do it there than up in the air. What we're going to do now is determine exactly where we need to put the hood end. First thing we need to do is determine the height of the window hood. If you have a double hung window, then the sashes slide up and down and it's not a problem. If you have a casement window, as we do here, the casement sash opens out, and depending on the height of the hood, the sash can only open out so far. So if we put the hood higher, the sash may be able to open wider. If we bring the hood down, the casement sash can only open so far. Another thing you need to work out is, are you fixing onto weatherboard or onto brick? If you're fixing onto weatherboard, what we've done here is we've drawn two lines at the top to represent weatherboard. If it's weatherboard, generally speaking, when you put the flashing on, you prise the weatherboard off a little bit and you put the flashing underneath. So the consideration is to make sure that the sash can open a certain distance that gives you enough air. So if you bring the hood down to here, you could see you would only be able to open the window sash so far. Generally speaking, you fit the hood just below the second weatherboard at the top, and that gives you enough opening to get plenty of ventilation into the home. So what George is doing now is determining the height of the window hood end. He's making a mark so the flashing goes underneath the weatherboard by about 10 millimeters. He'll mark the bottom of the flashing, and then he'll measure down 18 millimeters, which is the thickness of the corrugation. What this does is give us the height of the timber window hood end. So now, with the use of a level, George transfers the mark from one side to the other side. So he now knows where the height of the right and left hand window hoods will go. So now we'll put the window hood end up to the mark. Just as a double check, we'll open the casement sash and we'll have a look at the top of the sash, the top of the hood, and we can see that's how far the window will open. That's enough to give us a breeze, so that's acceptable. When fixing the window hood end, we want to keep it fairly close to the jamb because there's a timber stud behind there, and we can fix the end straight into the timber stud. We do keep it slightly off the jamb because by keeping it slightly off, we can make sure that it's quite plumb when we put it up there. The window itself may be slightly out if it's been there for a number of years. What we initially do is just put on a couple of packing pieces. These are 10 millimeters with a little bit of masking tape, and that gives us a guide. We'll pre-drill all the holes in the window hoods on the ground because it's easier to do it on the ground than it is up in the air. So what we do now is put the end up beside the packing pieces, put it up to the line at the top, and George will fix through the center. And once he's got one fixing point through the center, he'll put his level on to make sure everything's nice and level and plumb before he puts the second hole in. What we need to do now is determine the length of the purlin. So George is measuring in between the two window hoods, and he'll get that measurement and cut the purlins to the correct length. There's two types of screws that come with the kit. There's the longer countersunk screw, which is for putting the timber together, and then there's the roofing screw with the washer for screwing down the metal. The next step is to fit the gable roll. There's a right and left-handed side. There's some screws come in the pack. You can either use those or you can use a galvanized clout nail. Now if this was actual weatherboard that we had up here, what George would do is prise back the weatherboard with the bar, and then he would tuck the flashing underneath the weatherboard, and the weatherboard would now hold the flashing in place, and he'd be able to work on there and drill. If this was actually a brick wall or some sort of masonry, what he would do is find out where the mortar is. He would drill through the flashing into the mortar, and then he would put a sealant, some sort of a mastic or a silicone behind it, and then screw the flashing to the brick or masonry wall. So in this instance we're pretending that we've put the flashing underneath the weatherboard, and now he'll screw that down to the corrugated roof. So now the window hood's been fitted. If you want, you can buy a separate kit, which is a timber louver privacy screen, which we can fit to the front of the hood, which will give you extra privacy and extra shading. And what comes in the kit are the stays to hold it off the window, the side panels, and the timber louvers, which are over height, but you actually cut these to length as required. First of all, you need to get the timber bracket. Make sure that you use the top edge, which matches up with the roof pitch. You line that up, top edge here, with the front purling. And just to make sure, have a little bit of timber louver blade. You can place it on here to make sure that it doesn't catch the arch of the bracket. So that would be the perfect place for the bracket. We'll pre-drill 2 holes through here. George will then screw 1 hole into place and fit the metal bracket at the bottom, and then put the second screw in the top. So now we've fitted the window hood and we've fitted the privacy screen. Now just remember, before you put all this together, you really need to paint this on the ground, because it's a lot easier to paint it on the ground than when it's up in the air. And when you're joining pieces of timber together, you need to make sure that you actually paint all the end grain before you put it together also. That's it, job finished. Thank you for watching the video.